Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. Starting to heat up here in the shop June 1st, but we're going to try to keep things cool with a DRPD tool haul. If I'm thinking correctly, this is number 20, and we're going to have some Koken, we're going to have some KTC, and of course, we've got some DRPD. And do I ever plan that to go out so perfectly? No, it just happens. Sometimes it doesn't, but this time it did, and that's what we're going to remember, because it makes me look cool. So, this of course is going in, tying back with yet more Memorial Day stuff. This is kind of items I kind of talked myself into after the fact. And one of these items that we're going to get started with is KTC specific. And we're going to throw down these two. These have been nothing short of fantastic for me. As you know, I'm a Roto person. These are KTC Roto Ratchets. There's kind of two iterations here. We've got the standard and we've got the long. The price points on these are also really not penalized. Now we're going to start with a baseline, which would be your standard. For you metric people, that's 180 millimeters. Old school, that's just basically 7 inches, we'd call it. It's $66. And you think, oh man, okay, that's not terrible. What do they hit you that for, like 120? No, you're thinking of snap-on type stuff, right? This, you jump from 180 to 300 millimeters. That's basically 7 inches to 12, roughly. And you're going to be looking at $73.35. So it's a very fair price. It's just a $7 increase for that length. Personally, this is probably where I would start. Now with rotos, you've got the option, of course, number one, you just drive things in, right? You come in, you're not ratcheting, we're just running this in. It's almost like a screwdriver, nut driver type of a situation, holding a socket without a ratchet. It gives you a handle, it gives you leverage. You're able to break things free with the greater length. The flip side of the roto, and this is really the only time where this could be disadvantages. Let's just keep this simple. We're going to take an engine. You're tearing an engine down, right? There's a blown head gasket, we'll say. Now, if I've pulled the engine from the car, and I've got my roto ratchet here, and there is some funk bracket or some weird obstruction, let's say we're trying to like keep the exhaust intact, I don't know, we're just gonna go with that situation. You've left the headers on, we'll assume it's a race car, and so a regular ratchet you would dink, 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 you're constantly hitting into the, you know, number 6 tube or something. Here we come in and I'm able to work and I can just change my position as I go. This always sounds dumb to people until you wind up in that situation and you do it, and then it becomes natural. Especially as these break in. This one's a little tighter than that one because it's newer, but that's an example. Another simple example, if we have, say, a bracket and you're running the bolt down, right, and you're using it in this orientation, spinning it in, then you need to tighten it up. If you come here and the bracket is standing up, let's just say that it's a funky kind of like hill shaped with an eye hook type, good grief, this day, I'm telling you. If you come in and you hit, you're not going to be able to, say, swing the ratchet much to tighten it. With a roto, you just simply jump over that and you've got the full 270 there, and then you can come back. You can also just literally come over it and continue your work, right? So it adds a lot of versatility. Now, where that same situation would become cumbersome with this is now if this long handle, you're hitting an obstruction over here, you don't want to come up all the way because you get to a point where you can no longer hand tighten it quickly. That's where the smaller handle could save you. In general, I kind of prefer a longer handle. I'm not saying 15, 18 inches, anything crazy, but this 300 millimeter, roughly foot long, that's for me in 3H drive, like that 10 to 13 inch, 10 to 14 maybe, is a real sweet spot. You get great leverage with it, but it's not obnoxiously long where it's going to be a problem or cumbersome, you know, very often. You could certainly run into that, but the majority of the time, I feel pretty good with it. It's also just a nice little bit of extra length versus standard. Now, if you're thinking, well, where are you going with this? Got to be some reason, and there totally is, and it's down here. would have been helpful if I had this tool in hand, but what we have is the third offering from KTC. And if you've got standard and you've got long, you're thinking, is it extra long or is it short? Well, the answer currently from KTC is short, and it is going to be this little gem right here. And this is what you care about. I can't tell you much about this aside from that means 3/8 square drive, but this is your part number. BRSW3. That's going to apply to all of these. This is in fact BRSW3. This short guy, BRSW3S. If you're wondering, like, well, what's the part number here? That's the one I want. Well, take your same part number, and instead of having an S on the end, make it an L. So short and long are denoted with S and L respectively. Again, this is about one of the few times I get to see KTC packaging. Again, just a little bag. It's fine. Doesn't have to be a box. It's sealed. If you bought all three of these at once, or if DRPD had short and long in stock, if that's all you buy from the guy, these are bagged individually. If there's oil all over this one, it's not going to get all over your long one, and vice versa. Simple. This is in reference to a lot of videos we've done recently where I complain about the lack of packaging. Now, the real sweetheart of a deal, if you buy, let's say that you think this would be your most used roto, for whatever reason. Number one, great, because you save a little bit. Granted, you wouldn't spend much more to get these. Price tier, before we get into that, again, $73, $66, $62. So you're not really paying, could this be cheaper? Sure. Could this cost more? Absolutely. But you're kind of in that ballpark. To go from here to here, it's basically $10. So take from that what you will. The thing is, this is what matters. The Ratchet Action 72 tooth. This is not, I think this is something people have a misconception of. These are not just like another run-of-the-mill Taiwanese KTC. This is made in Japan. This is like from the ground up, the fairly recent tool. And the big thing about them, we don't have something honking here to compare, sadly. But the head is extremely compact. Think of my Tectons, think of your Pittsburghs, think of, any brand off of Amazon, the 3/8, the head's like that big. These are compact. They almost look like they'd be quarter drive, but alas, that's a 3/8 anvil on this sucker. So 72 tooth, where I was going with this, if this is what you picked, yes, you save money, you're getting your Roto Ratchet, but if you do actually like the performance of the Ratchet, or you think, hey, this great form factor, the Ratchet's good, the price is decent. Once you've used this, you know how the Ratchet Action should be on the standard and the long. Vice versa, if you start out in the long and you think, the long, I don't really think there's going to be a benefit there, but if I couple the short and the long, I can kind of do everything I'd ever need to do. Whatever your logic is, since this mechanism is the same, all you've got to adjust for is the length. So once again, if I set this down on top of the KTC sticker, you're looking at 120 millimeter, 180 millimeter, and 300 millimeters. So think again, basically 12 inches, basically 7 inches, and 4 3/4, right? So not 4, but closer to 5. If that makes any sense. Should put you in the wheelhouse, rough ballpark for everything. That was my last purchase, and for a reason. The other two I think are going to be more useful to me. Again, I've had a heck of a time getting this guy. Now it always seems to be in stock and the others are gone. Be aware of that, especially if you wait for a sale. The prices on these are phenomenal. This is a made in Japan tool, and to walk you through the prices again, 62, 66, 73, but we never pay retail. It's not because DRPD's like, well, this guy's making videos, this is great. No, I get the same sales, same deals you do. I just look for them. I kind of have a rough idea when they happen. Memorial Day, Father's Day, July 4th. So he'll do some random ones here and there. Maybe it's like specifically these, maybe it's PB Swiss, this and that. Follow them. Get on an email list. If you don't do that, if you don't care for that method, whatever social media channels you're on, I think DRPD may be limited to Instagram, so if you're like a Facebook person, you're going to have to adjust or take an email. But the bottom line, although I believe I'm special, I get the same deals as everyone else, so I'm not going to pay $73 for this. I'm going to wait until I'm getting 10, 15, 20% off, right? Across the board, and when you start taking 20% off of this Ratchet, that's a stupid good buy, right? Case in point, this one that we just brought in, it's north of $60. So what's 20% of that? That's a good chunk of change right there. That's $12. So you're basically going to get this for $50. Made in Japan, 3/8 72 tooth compact head roto head ratchet. You just really can't go wrong with these, in my humble opinion. So we've now completed the set. I do believe that will be my least used. There are situations where like I said, I could see a limiting factor coming in. There's also just sometimes, especially with larger sockets, I prefer something smaller because I always choke up on the head anyway. So if we're running this thing in and then I want to put some torque on it and I'm limited in space, boom. Then what are we going to do? We're not going to step up to one of these. We're going to get a torque wrench if we can get the thing in there. So they are absolutely phenomenal. There's a couple more rotos I need to get in and try out. But for the option, for the price point, for the quality thus far, now granted I haven't had these 20 years, it's a new tool, these are going to be a very, very high-ranking contender in my opinion. So the only real downside to KTC's Roto head ratchets, and you see this oftentimes with many brands, they're limited. And what I mean by that, you've got a great selection here. If you think, man, I'm getting this one, the long one, and I'm going to get their quarter drive, hopefully they do like a long one there, I feel for you. And there is no quarter drive option. I've told Mike, I'm like, hey man, you got to get these people to make quarter and half-inch drive. To me, half-inch drive, I know, and I think quarter and 3/8 would be far more frequently purchased. To me, the half would be awesome. This is what we've got now. Are they developing them? Do they have plans for quarter, but they think no one's ever going to use half-inch, or we're not going to develop that? I have no intel. I have no inside information. I just know personally I would love to see both happen. So if you're a KTC fan, or you get these and you try them out, whether you're relaying it to Mike, whether you email KTC, if you're semi-fluent in Japanese, if you travel to Japan, whatever, if you have the opportunity, tell them, people love these, you've got to make them in other drive sizes. So Koken, it's the same setup. You can get 3/8, no quarter, no half. Again, I've had several of you tell me recently Snap-on has canned their half-inch drive roto head. So it's kind of a catch-22. You find something, you love these, and you're like, now I just need the standard quarter and I'm set. Well, you can't get it, right? So you still have to fill a void there. But it is what it is. Like I said, the saving grace with the KTCs, this head is tiny, so it's almost like a quarter drive tool. But the handle is sadly not, or in positive fashion in my view, isn't crippled down and like extremely small. Still like a 3/8 handle, just, down here on the ratchet end, you'd expect, when you look at that, to have a quarter anvil. It's 3/8. So wins across the board on that front. And again, fantastic price plus a sale on top of it. What we're going to do now is kind of get a little hex driven here. And like I said, sadly, I've left this box on the floor instead of having it over here because I have so much stuff piled up for the next video. There's more text that I'm sure people are upset I'm not responding to. 1 second. I tell you, you think you're going to get Saturday evening free, and then you wind up having to do all this other stuff. But back to the tool haul. Fantastic stuff. Super happy with the KTC Roto heads. Something else that I'm very excited about is going to come from Koken. These are things I what you run into, just like where you have the Rotos but you're missing quarter or you're missing half a lot of times. So many times with Japanese and German brands, I find something I really like, I'm excited about it, they make super cool, unique stuff in metric, and what do you hear me complain of or lust for? The standard equivalent, right? They don't have the SAE offering in this product, and it's a shame because I would buy it. I really want it. Whether that's Stavilla with open box 14 inches, they're slightly longer ones. I want to get those really bad in SAE sizes, especially 7/16 half, 9/16, but they don't make them. There's a litany of so many things that they just super cool, super unique, handy, not available, and I can't buy something that doesn't exist, so it is what it is. Again, I'm sure they've studied their markets. Is the cost of tooling and making that actually going to balance out at some point? Probably, but how many years in the future? That's more than likely why it's not. a product currently available, so I totally get it, but it does suck, especially when it's something that you like. Now, that said, what we'd kind of done in Hex Bit land over here, good lord, where is it? Like, this, I've been interrupted so many times. Alright, I have not gotten to optimize things because I didn't have everything I wanted, but we've got these in metric. They're 100mm, they're trick because they have the retention spring, sort of like VHA-esque, if you will, so they're going to hold the fastener. These are not going to hold a fastener. This is metric and SAE. There's a couple other sockets I've added to it that don't fit on the rails. These are quite different from those. Those are, I believe, 4 inches, 100mm. These suckers right here are not. They are stubby. They're super stubby. They're not Z-Series stubby, but they're quite stubby. What most of us are going to have is kind of the default Harbor Freight offering. And I don't mean necessarily you have Pittsburgh or Icon or something. I mean, that's basically the length you're going to have. You can go back in time. You know, maybe it's Proto, Elkin, Bondus, whatever. You know, maybe it's an import. You know, you got Ghidorah. They're all roughly going to be a size quite similar to what we have here from Koken. If I drop these down, you're going to be like, oh yeah, what's going on here? Well, this is their part number, RS. What does that mean? Railed set. We've got 3010A. What does the A mean? American, Fractional, Imperial, Standard, SAE. Then you've got /8, that's going to be the number of pieces on the rail. And then what is that L50? That's going to be the length. It's 50mm length. So that's what these are. The price point at DRPD for this set right here is going to clock in at $82.20. And again, sometimes when they do have SAE offerings, you'll see the price is a little higher, even if maybe the set contents are lower. A reason for that, again, they probably just don't move as much now. I will not lie. I have used the Pittsburgh, particularly T-handles, a really long time. I have done a lot of things with them. I expect them to suck. I expect them to break. They just don't. I guess they really are S2 tool steel. They hold up. Most of the stuff in the shop, they're T-handles, but they're like old school T-handles, right? And what I mean by that, you don't really even have a handle. You've just got the hex stock, and here's your drive end. It comes up, it comes over here, and it turns. You know what I'm talking about. And that comes in the nice T-stands, you know, probably goes back to like the 60s or 70s. Totally functional, just not the most enjoyable thing to hold when some idiot before you has absolutely reefed the living snot out of what should just be kind of a snug fit fastener. That's where bit sockets come in, right? Instead of me having to do that, and, you know, there is a bit of spring to those as well, but instead of having, you know, hex indentions in your palm and fingers, you can run a ratchet, you can put a breaker bar. That's usually what I have, is like a half breaker bar, and just spin things out, turn it, run it out. Kind of the same concept as Roto minus Ratchet Action. And this is sort of like a more generic size offering. So this set, we've got 1/8, 5/32, 3/16, 7/32, quarter, 5/16, 3/8 and a half. These four will be heavily used, right? Granted, I'm keeping these at home currently, but I am considering them for work. I will tell you though, like if you think, man, $82, keep in mind, yes, take 20% off of that, but you can get those Pittsburghs like really cheap. Now, especially, let's say that you're an LS person, you know, you do 4th gen Camaros, Trans Ams, and then you LS swap everything else in life, okay? You're probably not going to need SAE, you know, hex drivers, right? You need metric ones. Spend whatever you want to for those, and then if you're like, you know, every once in a while, like I've got that guy that I'm going to do that swap for, but he never does it, so he's playing around, you know, with his 350 swapped, you know, 87 IROC. Well, guess what? You know, the Pittsburghs are probably going to be fine. Now, keep in mind, you know, like I'm dealing in like machine screws and stuff along those lines, grub screws, running things in and out of motors and machine environments. I'd like to tell you like, oh, well, you know, they're okay, but they only, no, they've actually been really good. And again, you can get those things dirt cheap, and then you can get them even cheaper when they're on sale. So keep your eye on those the same way, like if you're old school muscle car man, but you've recently caved in and you've picked yourself up like a 5.7 Hemi that you're going to plug in your duster type of a deal, maybe you're going to have to grab some metric tools, right? Koken represents a fantastic quality to price point, and this would be an option then, again, going the metric route. But there's really not much to say here. These are just, it's a pretty comprehensive set for 3H drive, sort of a happy medium. And I'm quite excited about them. We'll come in and we're going to go 3/8 here. And what we will do is plug it onto this KTC. Great, wow. That really is really good fitment there for KTC and Koken. But right there, we've got this where you're changing the chuck, you're changing the jaws type of a thing. You just run that sucker in, and then we come in, tighten it. What do we have to do the next day? Oh, you got to tear it down because it's a different procedure. All right, so you break it free, and then we come in, and what do? We run that sucker out like this. It's great. There's not much to it. I've really barely used those Koken Hex Bits that you've seen. The holding function, again, has been fine. They haven't been here long enough to be like, oh, hey, you know, you're only going to get about like 3-4 months out of those things before they wear down. I can't tell you. They've been fine. Little guys there, same thing. There's not been a ton. Number one, there's not been a lot of time, but number two, there's just not been enough time to use them to say like, okay, hey, yeah, fully endorse these suckers, or man, you know, these are junk. Wish I would have gotten something else. Nope, can't tell you. Based on everything I do have good experience with Koken, I have no concerns. Just to kind of give you a look at the hex profiles. Now keep in mind, those stubbies, there's going to be a lot of times like if you're using this, okay, you've got a cap screw sunk down, most likely either flush or sunk in even. And in those cases, that you might run into the body of the bit holder here, right? Like think you're not going to get that down there. The fastener is here and your hex bit stopping here. It's just not going to work. That's where this comes in. Similarly, those long ones with the holding function, you might have the same thing happen here. You've got a little 5/16 you're trying to run in, and uh-oh, you know, don't quite have the length that you need. So that's why you see the length with these. That's also why you see me have a lot of T-handles. T-handles, kind of an expense up front, but when you factor in buying like 3 to 4 different sizes of hex bit drivers, well, yeah, you can kind of justify it. Plus, with a T-handle, you've just got the profile here, right? You don't have anything else to worry about, so kind of a home run on that front. If you're thinking like, well, hey, you know, you got the 50s there, surely you don't want to have stubby and 4-inch monsters over here for metric. You would be 100% correct, my friend, and that is where this comes in. It's going to be, it's just $72. Again, think of it as like $10 cheaper. It's 8-piece, so you know it's going to be an RS. There's going to be an 8. We have RS 3010 M, not A for American, but M for metric. Then you've got the /8, and that's going to be your set content pieces. And then L 50, right? No, that's a 62. Why? Well, I can't tell you. I can't match these up. I would like 50 or 62 in both. It is what it is. That's just the way Koken made these, and I was willing to give them a go. And again, keep in mind the 82 and 72 respectively. You would think this would cost $10 more because they're slightly longer. But no, it's those, and again, that's probably surely a volume thing. Size ranges here that you'll be dealing with in your metric set: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip 9, skip 11, because you got 10 and 12. So again, 3 through 8, 10 and 12 is what we have handy. Let's come in here. We'll just grab the 2 biggest for your convenience. We've got a 12, and we've got the half. So we're going to start down here, and you'll note that we've got the body of these is identical, okay? Granted, one's going to say 12 and one's going to say 12, but have a line between the 1 and the 2. Both 3/8 square drive, nothing nefarious there. You know what? This sucker here, actually, the old school Americana, actually has a bit more meat on the bit holder. So, I'm not sure where 12 and a half cross over. But right here, that is 50 versus 62. That's kind of a bigger difference than you would think, just going with millimeters, right? You think, 50 to 62 ain't much. Well, there's your answer. I mean, this is what you're looking at. So Again, 12mm difference between these two. I gotta say, this is not a terrible length. I kind of wish that the 62s were available in SAE land, especially since we made the choice to invest in those smaller fractional drive sizes. Let's see here. Trying to decide if we want to continue on or if we want to save this item for something else. You know, it's we've been interrupted, so I don't quite know how long this video is. I'm trying to kind of roughly guesstimate. I kind of think we might hold off on that front and take that next item into the next video. But let's real quick here. We got our Koken Z series. We got our Koken 50mm. That's a really nice combination right there. So yeah, this kind of gives you an idea of what this would look like in use. This is obviously the largest SAE. If we come in and we grab this little Jim Dandy right here, let's say you've got a really weird situation going on. Boom. You go in, you can kind of run that out. Maybe it's a firewall type of deal. You're hoping you can break that out, extract maybe the assembly, and then, you know, finger run that out, you know, and hit a water jacket or something. Who knows what you're doing. But this is just to give you an idea how they pair with Koken ratchets, which is, again, phenomenally well. Yeah, I think we're going to call that good. So we basically introduced additional hex drivers, and then we came in and we completed the set, the current complete lineup of the KTC Rotos. Again, made in Japan, very friendly on the price point, and look at the head on this thing. So case in point, like, this is 3H drive Roto head, this is the 3H drive Koken. Yeah, we'll come in and we'll get the Z series here, which is going to be a compact head. Look at that. And again, keep in mind what you usually see with Rotos, and the fact that you typically, with the run-of-the-mill stuff like we've all got, Pittsburgh, Tecton, insert, crossover here, yes, you get the quarter 3/8 and half, but you don't have the option of having a longer 3/8, and you don't have the option of having a shorter 3/8. You get what you get, and then you got to throw your fit, right? And, I think it's, what is it, William Tool, I think, is he makes most of those or something. But yeah, they're actually pretty decent, again, especially if you can get a deal on a trio. You get all three drive sizes, which again, no quarter, no half here. But if 3/8 is your bread and butter, man, these are sweet. So like I said, we're going to continue to investigate that. The Hex Bit sockets, I don't have much to tell you. They do what they do it well. And again, based on Koken sockets in general, 6-point, 12-point, nut grips as well, I've got way more seat time with those. There's a reason I keep buying Koken. Of course, one, the price and quality, and number two, they haven't disappointed me yet. So we've got that going. I think these will be good as well. But the next video, man, she's going to be a doozy. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will. But we'll leave it at that. And I'm going to try to regroup here, clean up a little, get back on track, maybe not have a million text messages coming in. And, we'll take it from there. So, as always, I want to know your thoughts, your experience. If you already have these, if you've got this 62 and 50, if you think, man, those 62s are way more handy, or, you know, 50 is standard, you got to go that route. If you agree with me that you'd like to see consistency across the board, SAE and metric, if you like having the variety, if you use KTC Roto Ratchets, which length do you prefer and why? Do you have the set? Do you just have standard and call it good? Did you just go long and skip the other two? Whatever you want to talk about, especially if you've got first-hand feedback, be sure to leave it down below. Again, the end goal is to help people, showcase things, and then if everyone comes in and says, yes, I've tried them all, these are phenomenal, or hey, those are really good, especially for the price, but this brand is better, this brand's about on tier with it, and although the brand below is not as good, it's also way cheaper. So that's the type of information that helps people, and that's all we're trying to accomplish here. But yeah, you know the drill. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. If you enjoyed the video, I encourage you to leave a like. If you like other videos or you think, hey, I gotta see this mystery tool that he didn't show us in this one, I encourage you to subscribe. If you do that, you ring the bell, you grab your trio of KTC 3H drive compact head roto ratchets, YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic week. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more from the shop.